Mr. Happy Living here, and I'm happy to be broadcasting from WYTV7 in the beautiful Queen City, Charlotte, North Carolina, USA. Hey friends, please join me for a minute and just imagine how marvelous you'd feel living the unique and distinct life you were put on this planet to live, doing work you love, with people you love, in places you love, and all the while creating real value for others. Well, that's what I call a life of significance, and I can tell you it makes a very happy life. And so can my friend Josh Trent, and he's here to share his unique and distinct journey to his life of significance. But before we bring him on, I'd like to share a poem that we created to thank him for being our guest star today. It's called When Breath Meets Truth, and it goes like this. He walked through fire, through fear, through pain, then turned it all to wisdom's gain. With breath and truth, he broke the chain and now helps others to do the same. Josh shares the tools and sets souls free from self-sabotage to self-clarity. He's living proof that we can be unbound, complete, living purposely. So tune in now. Don't miss this show. The path to peace, he'll help you know. Step in with faith and the healing flows when breath meets truth and clarity grows. Hey, Josh, welcome to the show.
Wow, I'm so honored. What an incredible poem and prayer.
Thank you very much. Hey, get us started by telling us what you're doing these days to make your mark of significance on the world.
So in 2025 and for the rest of my life, I am helping people go from outwardly successful to internally struggling to being the same on the inside as they are on the outside. And that is fulfilled from a place of peace, a place of peace that I struggled with for a long time in my life. And so essentially, in a nutshell, that's what I help people do. I do it through a couple different mediums. One is the Wellness and Wisdom podcast, where we help people see life through a different lens. And that lens is the nourishment of self, the 5 sides of self: physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and financial. And of course, we don't heal alone. We heal in community. So that's why I made the Liberated Life Tribe, the online community, where we go deeper in a safe space to uncover the truth of who we are, which is much of what you prayed about to God when you started this podcast, this show.
Yeah. So Wellness and Wisdom podcast, I think you got a gazillion episodes out, 700 plus or so.
Yes.
What kind of
something.
Yeah, so what kind of impact are you seeing that show have? And one of the things I love so much about the work that we do is once we get this episode in the can, as I call it, it lives on. And so, you know, you've got now 700 that are living on. What's your hope, and what kind of impact are you seeing that show bring to the world?
My hope is that people receive clarity through the vehicle of honesty. And at the end of their journey in their lifetime, through my help and many others, that they are actually being and living and breathing their authentic self, the person that their creator, that God put them here to be. And we fall into these traps, Matt. We fall into these traps of believing people's stories and even believing the stories that God loved them, our parents and our lineage hand down to us. And we didn't necessarily ask for these stories, but there is some science and there is some spirit and some very unique teachings that I provide that allow people to get clarity on the stories that actually serve them and to how to gently discard the ones that don't.
Yeah, very good. And tell us about your breathwork and wellness programs. What are those about?
Well, Breathe is a program that's near and dear to my heart. It's actually tattooed on my arm for the people on video. It's Se posso respirare, posso scegliere. And in Italian, that means if I can breathe, I can choose. I found in my own journey through anxiety and depression that I was really just holding my breath. And that took me around the world to, California and Arizona and even Koh Phangan, Thailand, and learning from the best breathwork teachers in the world to then launch my own program called Breathe, Breath, and Wellness at breathwork.io and help over 1,000 students get clear on the stress reduction thing that's right below their nose, which is our breath. We come into the world with a deep breath and we leave with a big exhale. And in between, we're doing our best to make meaning of it all. So I think there's a real power in the healing tool of breathing properly, breathing nourishingly.
Very good. And one last one while we're here. There's a lot of people are having a difficult time with social media. How are you using conscious business and media to elevate wellness and freedom? So you're trying to flip media for use in a good way. Tell us about that.
Well, as you know, in media, we all get hooked by our patterns of the brain. And unfortunately, when it comes to social media, we are running on ancient software, Matt. We have an amygdala and a prefrontal cortex that is baked in over thousands of years of evolution. And we really haven't changed that much Yet
Mm.
technology and AI has changed so rapidly that it's put us in a place, if we're not conscious of the way our brain works, if we're not conscious of the way that our psyche and our unconscious mind operates, we can become victims and we can really, our
Yeah.
attention can be weaponized and monetized against us. So I go in with the same type of marketing that I guess you could say the deleterious forces in the world do, but I do them with the heart. I do them with
Yeah.
the soul, and I do them wanting to hook people on something of the pain that they're experiencing. And then once they get into our ecosystem, we deliver some real valuable content that can allow them to think differently, to breathe differently, to be differently, and to start to unravel these old stories.
Yeah, that's good. Very good, Josh. All right, let's do a little mathematics so our friends all around the world can get to know you through our happy formula. It's a very simple but super powerful formula that goes like this. Power plus purpose equals happy. So let's start with power. What are your personal practices for building up all the power that you need to get things done? Whether it's, and I think our five things are the same: physically, mentally, financially, spiritually, and emotionally. In other words, what do you
Mhm.
do on a regular basis, Josh, to create all the power you need to take excellent care of yourself and your loved ones and still have plenty left over so you can be a giver to others?
Well, it's twofold. Well, it's fivefold, really. The two that I believe I and everyone gets to start with when it comes to energy and power is your physical and mental self. Start where you are, be honest where you are, and just do an energy audit. Do an
Mm,
emotional intelligence audit. This is what I do for myself. Once a month, sometimes more, I'll just get out a sheet of paper. I'll draw a line down the middle and I'll write 10 things that I'm experiencing pain or stress or depression or anxiety about. Then on the
mm,
right side of the paper, I'll write down 10 things, 10 people, 10 experiences that I'm truly, truly in my heart of hearts really grateful for. And then here's
mhm,
the most important part. I will get in touch with my soul. I'll be in connection with my creator, and I will look at that paper and I will say, okay, which one of these in honesty is causing me the most stress? And I'll circle it. Which one of these in honesty am I most grateful for? And sometimes with a beautiful lady and family, it's hard to do. So I might circle that
mhm.
I'm grateful for my children. And I might circle that, this business experience that I'm going through is bringing me pain. And then I will do the absolute most important step when it comes to being powerful. I will go and I will seek out mentorship. I will seek out wise counsel. I will meet with an elder. I will reach out to a friend or colleague that I really have trust with, and I will share with them my inventory because
Mm,
light is what extinguishes dark. Josh,
mm,
none of us can heal or can have power just by being with ourselves in the dark. It is through the vehicle of human connection, either with mentorship or in community, that we actually can be the person that isn't bogged down by these thoughts. Because essentially, my list,
yeah,
Matt, they're just thoughts. They're just thoughts
yeah,
that are weighing me down. They don't actually exist. I am
that's
making them
correct.
exist. So
That's
that's how I
correct.
cultivate my power. I get clear on
Yeah,
the inventory, and then I get clear
yeah.
on where I get to spend my energy from that inventory.
Yeah, yeah. One of the things I've talked about before is the fastest way to improve your happiness is to stop being with or hanging around places or people that make you feel bad. And that's your
Amen.
inventory. Right? So if the inventory on the left-hand side, some of it you have to deal with, and you have to decide between those things, and some of them you don't have to deal with. Some of them you can just let go and get them
Yeah.
out of your life, and you're gonna feel more powerful.
Oh, it's so true. It's so,
Very,
often the things that stop us, though, from moving forward are the things that we're so attached to because we're still
correct.
getting a reward from them. And that's the deeper work.
Yeah, yeah, correct. Very good. And I love your advice to go seek counsel. I don't think we do that nearly enough these days. So very good. Okay, Josh, let's discuss my favorite power generating concept. It's called a Kaizen state of mind. And it's this beautiful Japanese idea that small incremental improvements will add up over time to yield great big results. And it's so powerful because it's all about mindset, not circumstance. Kaizening life means knowing I can always do something better tomorrow than today. And it creates a gentle, relentless, never ending force that keeps lifting my life higher and higher day after day after day. So, Josh, how does Kaizening your life help you increase your power to continuously become more so you can keep giving more and impacting more?
Oof. Such a powerful question. Good gosh. The way I do it is I get very still and very clear, and I ask God a very specific question. I put my
Mm,
hand on my heart. Maybe it's in the sauna space. Maybe it's just meditating or praying, and I just ask God, God, what is it that I most need to learn, and
mm,
how can I be most humble to learn it? God, how can
mm,
I be most humble to learn it, and what is it that I most need to learn? And the answer eventually comes. And with
mm,
that answer, that is my Kaizen. Because whatever my ego, whatever my, I guess you could say, unactualized self or my egoic self is striving for, is white knuckling for,
Mm,
it's probably from God's will, completely different, something completely different. And so
mm,
when I actually have the humility, this is the big piece for Kaizen,
yeah.
humility to ask God, what is it that I most need to learn and how can I be most humble to learn it? The answer will come through. And then my spiritual maturity and courage allows me to move in that direction.
So let me ask you an extension of that then. So you get quiet, you ask the question, you hear from God, and you bring something into your life. And then what I found with Kaizening, what's so important is it's one thing to make an improvement, it's another thing to hold on to it. You lose 10
Mm.
pounds on your diet and then you gain it back. It's a constant yo-yo of life. So how would Kaizen work in your prayer of asking for help, getting guidance from God, bringing something new into your life, and then building on that new thing as you go into prayer again? So, talk about how you can build your life up or tear your life down through that process.
Yes. Well, whenever I ignore the wisdom that I receive from that which created me, my life always yields more suffering. So that's first
Hmm.
and foremost. And then the second piece is if I'm being in true service to myself and my creator and my family and my business and my team, then God will bring me, my creator will bring me unique learning experiences where I get to practice this Kaizen, actually embodying the wisdom that I'm being served. And
Mm,
so it's really, Matt, the core of your question, it's a pain scale. How much pain is my ego willing to put me in to where my soul finally says, enough. I
I
wave the
give.
white flag.
Yeah.
I'm going to do the little thing, the 1% improvement. How do I get better every day? Because that is what I've already been told. And so, to the degree that I resist that from an egoic place, or I don't trust God, or I don't trust my life, then I'm going to suffer more. And so,
Hmm.
yes, learning has suffering, yet the degree of suffering can be very lessened when I go to the path of that which has created me.
Yeah. Well, suffering, from sports and a lot of different areas you can see it. Suffering with purpose is very different from suffering, as you say, in the ego mind, because by
Yes,
definition, you have purpose. So you'll walk through fire. Mama bear will walk through fire for her cubs. That's a suffering, but it doesn't matter. It's loaded up with purpose. So, and
yes.
here we are, purpose. That's the second part of the formula. And I've observed that big major life transformations, those discoveries of purpose, often come from devastation, sadly. Could be addiction, abuse, death, disease, disaster. Something awful strips a life to its core, resulting in a big and often unexpected change. However, in my book, Turning Inspiration into Action, I share the transformational process that I've used to discover the purpose of my life using inspiration. So, how about you, Josh? Was there a specific moment or event or crisis or inspiration that revealed to you the God given purpose you were meant to live?
Wow. I mean, there's been three of them, and I'll make it short because I know that we're moving in a certain direction here. The first one came when I was very young. I was born to a bipolar mother, and so the suffering was real. That
Mm,
graduated into in my early 20s. I sold everything I owned. I moved to Hawaii. I started surfing. I started being still. I started being open to the wisdom of God. But it wasn't until my early 30s when I got handed a being fired from a corporate job, putting my mom in a mental home, and waking up to the reality that I needed to break up with the person I was with. Three big
mm,
uppercuts from God that put me on my knees to where I finally, at 34 years old, on a tile floor in the Omni La Costa area in San Diego, and I just looked up at the sky because I thought that's where God was at the time. Now I know God's everywhere. And I just said, God, there's more to life than this. Please show me the way. I promise I'll
wow.
do whatever I'm told. I will go there. And then, the journey continues. I think we have many moments where we resist God, we resist this wisdom. And it's only when I think people are ready, when I'm ready to actually hear what we're being shown and to see what we're being shown, that our purpose becomes more magnified. All of these experiences have put me in a place where I can serve other people who are experiencing them because I've experienced them myself.
Yeah, so I want to go a little deeper into this. In my research, I saw you wrote about broken home, genetics, the odds against you, emotional pain, addiction, vices, and years of darkness. So you mentioned the three big ones.
Hmm.
What I want to convey, and I'd like your help conveying to our audience is when you are in that lowest of lows, that's when the feeling of overwhelm just takes people out. So when you were at your lowest, did you get some message and it was instantaneous, or how did you climb out of that low into the man that we see today? Tell us a little bit about that process, that the struggle, and what gave you the oomph to make the change.
It was a promise that I actually gave to my soul and to God that I would no longer live life being a gear in someone else's dream.
Mm,
And I was actually willing to die for it. I know that
mm,
seems very severe, but the promise that I made to myself was, God, if you show me the way, I promise you with my whole heart that I will no longer be a cog in someone else's wheel, that I will be authentically Josh, that I will figure out and do anything that's necessary to be able to live the life of my dream, to be able to be fulfilled in my purpose. And God, I don't exactly know what my purpose is right now, but I promise you, if you push me in the direction, if you give me guidance, I will commit to my purpose. I will double down on my purpose. And you know what it looked like? It looked like me going $75,000 in debt, looking at a pornography addiction that I was lying about, looking at
mm,
womanizing, looking at all the ways in myself that I was being a liar. And I don't say that
mm,
to shame myself, because there were coping strategies that were created from childhood that made me act in that way. And I love those protectors. I love those coping strategies because they kept me alive. Yet
mm.
I went on a journey of knowing how to fulfill myself from the inside, how to love myself, especially becoming a father of two children. Um, that the only way out of any of this is through. And we hear this a lot. It's a platitude. The only way out is through.
All
But
right.
are you actually going through it? And so the only way out is through. And that's how I transcended it, by going through it. And, I'll tell you, I spent a lot of time trying to crack the shortcut, but every shortcut turned into a long cut.
Yeah, so maybe that's my next question is how long were you down in the hole, maybe trying to get those shortcuts out until you finally made that promise to yourself and that promise stuck? We're talking weeks, months, years?
I would say it was a solid 6 to 9 months of being in a hole, feeling sorry for myself.
Hmm.
And then it wasn't until I realized that I was in debt, without a job, without a woman, putting my mom in a mental home. I mean, every single thing just stripped me down naked. And it
Hmm.
was from that nakedness that I decided that I wanted to live, that I wanted to
Hmm.
live for me, that I wanted to live for something bigger than just me, that I wanted to figure out, what are we doing here? What is the point of all this suffering? Why do I feel so lost? And the point of it all is to learn.
And one more thing on this. So you're in the hole, you make that decision, that promise to yourself. That didn't instantly change your circumstances,
No,
but
of course not.
tell the audience how
Yeah.
it did, how it can literally change your whole mindset about it in an instant.
So I'll speak to everyone, including myself in the past, that wherever you are is actually perfect. And I want you to really feel this, because this is 100% where you are. You are in the absolute perfect place, in your lowest of lows, to look at the honesty of the life that you have created and that you're responsible for. And I know that can seem very confrontational, but it is the truth. The life that you are surrounded by is the life that you have created through your unconscious and conscious choices. And so God is asking you, your soul is asking you in this moment. My soul was asking me in that moment to be honest with myself.
Mm,
And the closer I can get to being honest with myself, am I perfect? Am I absolutely embodied in honesty 24/7, 365? No, I'm still learning how to be honest more and more and more. But
hmm.
that's why we get to these low, dark, what seem like torturous places, is because we just haven't been honest with ourselves.
Yeah.
How things happened, why they happened, what our role in them happening truly was, because we get a payoff for being the victim. And that payoff
Hmm.
is something that's learned. We learn victimhood through society and through school and through parents. And the only way to transcend victimhood is to take an honest accountability of the life you've created from a place of honesty. Because you know what? When you take honesty for your life, and when you take responsibility for your life, the skin on my arms is tingling right now. This is so
Hmm.
profound. When you really take honesty for your life, you have all the power within your heart to change. You have
Yeah.
all the resources will come to you. People will show up, Matt. People showed up for me in ways that I cannot even fathom.
Yep.
Mentors would come in because my heart was pure. My intentionality to transcend this pain, this suffering, this torture was so pure that I made that solemn promise that I would rather die than do this. I will die rather than do this anymore. I will do whatever is necessary to live life on my authentic terms. And I think that's
Yeah.
the lesson for all of us, myself included.
Yeah. Very good. Thank you so much for that, Josh. Now let's take a commercial break so our sponsor can spread a little love with our audience.
Are you ready to transform your life? At happyliving.com, we've discovered 4 keys to help you live with purpose, joy, and significance. Unlock your truth with the Happy Quiz. Unlock your happy formula with inspiring stories from the Something Significant Show. Unlock your roadmap to happiness with our free ebook, Making Your Mark of Significance. And unlock your inspired life with our life-changing e-course, The Philosophy of You and Your Inspired Life. This is your time to shine. Go to happyliving.com now and click Unlock the Power of You. Unlock your power. Live your best life. happyliving.com.
And we're back, and this is the Something Significant Show, and I'm your host, Matt Gersper. And my special guest star today is Josh Trent. He's the founder of the Wellness and Wisdom podcast, a breathwork teacher, a voice for emotional intelligence, a devoted husband and father. And after battling through struggle, addiction, and spiritual disconnection, Josh found healing through breath, presence, and purpose. Now he helps others break free from self-sabotage and live life well. His story is bold, vulnerable, and overflowing with clarity, courage, and truth. And Josh, I just love that. And I think you're going to love this article that I found called The Science Behind the Power of Giving. It tells us that the simple act of giving can actually become a gateway to discovering your reason for being on the planet. And science confirms it. When we give our time, talents, and our treasure, it doesn't just help others, it transforms us too. It helps us overcome pain. It helps us find meaning. It helps us discover our purpose. So I've updated our formula. Power plus purpose plus giving equals really happy. So how about you, Josh? Has giving your time, talents, and treasures been a powerful pathway for discovering your purpose and for getting you through hardships and for bringing real meaning into your life?
Wow. I don't know if we have enough time for me to just share how significant the act of giving has really impacted me. But I will say this, that giving has allowed me to have freedom of authentic peace, power, and purpose through this lens of what I call the liberated life, emotional epigenetics. The practice of me giving not only heals me, it heals my children, it heals my audience. And here's the thing that most people don't realize. Emotional epigenetics is the science of how emotions are transferred or behaviors are transferred through our lineage. When I heal, Matt, myself, by doing whatever work is necessary, you know who else I heal? I heal my ancestors. I heal my grandparents. I heal my parents for the things that God loved them, did not even know they didn't know. They had unconscious incompetence because I all believe that we all do the very best we can with the level of consciousness that we have. And so if our ancestors could not heal these really genetic determined proclivities of anger, of fear, of sabotage, of mistrust, of taking, then it's my responsibility to do so. Just for the very fact that we're having this conversation, this did not exist for our parents and grandparents and great-great-grandparents. So they are watching us as I give. How has the power of giving impacted my life? It allows me to connect with all my ancestors, present, past, and future, in a way that gives them more love to be felt wherever they are, wherever I am. Because that's the whole game here, is we're learning how to love. We're in a school for souls, and God is pulling the strings.
Now, tell our audience, if you can, what the word epigenetics means, and then how now you're infusing that with intelligence, and just give us a little more science there for people who don't understand what that means.
So the epigenome sits on top of the genetic code, and the epigenome, a great metaphor for the epigenome would be that genetics load the gun, but behavior pulls the trigger. So we are basically coded with our T's, C's, and G's and all the things that we have in our DNA. And we have certain ways that we come into the world. For example, a child might be in a mother who in utero, that child experiences stress, and then that son comes out with hypervigilance, which was my case. It is that soul's work to be able to change one's behavior, change one's thinking, so that that epigenome that sits on top of the genetic code can actually turn off the harmful parts that we inherited from our lineage and turn on the loving parts, the trustable parts, the parts where we're in true service. And so this happens two ways. It happens emotionally and spiritually, and it also happens physiologically. We all know that we've heard stories from people where someone might say, we're the Smiths, we're all alcoholics. Well, that's just a belief. Yes, you may have a proclivity physiologically to become an alcoholic. You may be predisposed to become an alcoholic. But again, genes load the gun. Our epigenetics, our behavior pulls the trigger. No one forces you and I to pull the trigger. We just think there's no other way out, but the only way out is through. So the epigenome is turned off and on by our behavior, by our environment. The genome, we are not always blessed. Sometimes we have things that are not of great service to us or our community, especially our relationships. And so it's our loving responsibility to harness the power of emotional epigenetics so that we can start to unravel the parts of our DNA that can actually be encoded to our children in a healthier way. Isn't this amazing?
Very good. And so explain then how kindness and giving respond to a person's epigenetics such that when we give, it makes us feel good, it makes the receiver feel good, but also people who see the giving, it impacts their lives as well.
Well, if I may, I'll give a 30-second scientific study, and then I'll give a 30-second anecdotal story.
Okay.
So there was a study that was done on rodents, and they traumatized the female or the male rat. This was done at a very high echelon school. This is a scientific research paper. And they traumatized the male rat. That male rat breeded with a untraumatized female rat. And they measured the nervous system response 5 generations down from that rodent. And you know what they found in the offspring? That offspring was exhibiting the same proclivity to the trauma that the 5-generation previous rodent had experienced. What does that tell us? Trauma passes epigenetically through generations. Now, when it comes to giving in my own life, when I do the work to put my hand up and say no to the parts of my genetic proclivity, to my predisposition that makes me fearful, that makes me judgmental, that makes me angry, and when I do the inner architecture work of replacing those things with ways of loving, with ways of giving, with ways of being that are actually in service to my family, my community, and to God, I am actually physiologically hardwiring the way that my children will have their children. And so that rat that we mentioned, the 5 generations, with my mindset and with my heart and how I will teach my children, they will then teach their children the same. And then 3, 4, 5 generations down the line, you know what we have? We have souls, we have human beings that are more capable of giving, that are not a hostage to the slavery that they put themselves in because of the genetics that they were given.
Right on, right on. So the science tells us giving to others helps bring real meaning to our lives. We've been talking about that. And the joy that we feel from our 4th element of significance, doing work that creates value for others, when you're doing that, you can feel the joy. That confirms it. But there's something more to it than just the giving, Josh. I believe the real magic of life happens when you're giving from living in your purpose, because that's when joy flows, not just to the receiver, but to the giver. And that joy runs deep within us. So Josh, the audience and I would like to know, how does it make you feel to be living in your purpose and giving to others through the work that you were put on this planet to do? And people all around you have taken notice. So please sit back, open your heart, and have a listen to what people are saying about the impact that you're making on their lives by finding the magic of giving from living in your purpose. One person said, Josh is one of the most genuine and authentic people I've ever met. Another said, he magically pulled all my goodness out of me, and it was such a treat to be heard and seen by such a high caliber man. Another said, his skills shine on the air as he so naturally draws out insightful and practical guidance from his guests. Another one said, after listening to each episode, I feel not only informed, but also like I've made a new friend and had a warm conversation with them. Others said, authentic, amazing, engaging, passionate, inspiring, driven, insightful, practical, smart, charismatic, motivational, contagious, kind, connective, and loving, exciting, compassionate, a consummate professional. He's intelligent and comprehensive, helping his clients attain proven results that become a way of life. Like me, Josh was overweight and ill, but as in any revelation, he awakened and blossomed into a beast, a juggernaut of inspiration and motivation. And finally, this person said simply, Josh's authentic and heart-filled communication helps him connect with and inspire change in the lives of many. So, my friend, how does all that incredible love make you feel?
Just so grateful that I didn't quit.
Mm.
I'm so grateful that I didn't choose to quit, that I believed in myself enough to make it this far, and that I believe in myself to go farther. And just so grateful that my work in the world and my presence in the world makes an impact to as many people as it can. And yeah, not going to lie, makes me want to cry.
And that's it, folks. That's what this show is all about. We're here to encourage you, our listeners, to find that same magic in your lives. It's available for each of us. That's what I believe. And it comes from this great big happy circle. Giving your time, talents, and treasures is a powerful pathway for discovering your purpose. And then giving from living in your purpose brings a profound joy to your life and to the lives of those around you too. So it seems that giving leads to purpose and giving from purpose leads to joy. So Josh, if I'm going to capture the full exponential power of our happy formula, I've got to tweak it just a little bit more. See how this sounds. Power times purpose times giving equals happy to the third power. And that's really, truly, deeply happy. Does that sound about right to you?
Sounds about right. The only thing I'd put in front of power is peace, because you can't have real power unless it's from peace.
We can adjust the formula with that too. Peace is beautiful. All right, my friend, let's wrap things up with the lightning round. I love the power of words and the capacity for great quotes to change lives. So I'm going to read a few of my favorites and ask you to tell us what they mean to you. Give us the first thing that pops into your mind, Josh, because we call this a lightning round. So this first one relates to your journey of looking deep within yourself. And so is there a point when you began to wake from within, like Carl Jung has said, when he said, quote, "Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes"?
My awakening began in my early 20s when I left a life of mediocrity and safety and had no plan, no exact idea of what I was going to do. And that was the beginning of my awakening when I sold all my possessions and moved to Hawaii. So, yes, that was the beginning of my awakening.
Very good. I chose this one because you've transformed suffering and hardship into healing and purpose. So do you agree with Ernest Hemingway, who wrote, quote, "The world breaks everyone, and afterwards, some are strong at the broken places"?
Yes, I fully agree. When we break a bone, it heals stronger than it was before. And I think emotionally, we have those same bones. If we do the work, then we become stronger from the wound itself.
Yes, if we do the work, right?
If we choose to do the work.
Yeah. All right, with your focus to help others go through their challenges to find purpose, what are your thoughts on this quote from Brene Brown when she said, "Only when we are brave enough to explore the darkness will we discover the infinite power of our light"?
Everything that blocks us from pouring light, this phrase good vibes only, which I don't think exists. There's no such thing as good vibes only. When we ignore the lessons from the dark, our power to shine light is diminished. And so I 100% agree with what she says.
Very good. This one came straight from your website. And so what do you hope others will take away from Jay Krishnamurti's words when he said, "It is no measure of health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society"?
It's exactly your previous quote from Brown. The darkness that we choose to turn a cheek to runs our lives. It's the same thing that Carl Jung said when he said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it'll run your life and you'll call it fate. It's there in the darkness, whatever it is, that depression, that anxiety, that pain, that trauma, whatever's holding us back, it's in the darkness. And we think we're going to get there by just shining light. It's not the truth, y'all. There's no such thing as good vibes only. You are required to go into the darkness to find the truth of your soul. Then you can shine.
Yeah, very good. And what do you hope our listeners would apply, how our listeners today will apply these words from Howard Thurman, who said, I love this one, "Don't ask what the world needs, ask what makes you come alive and go do it"?
When you ask yourself and you have the courage to answer what makes you come alive, you give every single human being around you the permission to do the same. And that is a powerful responsibility and gift.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Right on. And this is our show anchor. It's from Goff, and he said, whatever you can do or dream you can do, begin it. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. Begin it now.
So many people wait for the perfect time to be bold, but boldness is never earned from a place of perfect peace and timing. Boldness only comes when the walls are falling off, when the wheels are falling off the wagon, when you go through a divorce, when you have an injury, when you lose someone you love. That's where boldness is born from. Boldness
Yeah.
is never a current place of peace and prosperity. Boldness comes from your own challenge, from your own problem.
Yeah. And so that speaks to the idea of, we often find our big transformations through devastation. So give us 30 seconds on how do you learn to be bold without the devastation? How do you learn to be inspired? To use inspiration instead of devastation? How do you learn that? How do you teach that?
How do you learn to be inspired from devastation? You ask for the lesson and the wisdom in the devastation that you find yourself in. That is actually it. I've never thought about this before. Wow, what a great question. When you're in the lowest place of your life, ask God what it is that you most need to learn and how can you be most humble to learn it. And then the actual gift of the wisdom will come through. But one must have that mindset for that to be transcended.
And now what you started us off, you said you for your Kaizening, you ask that every day, or you ask that frequently. So now you're getting to that place without the devastation. You're building from health and still asking the same question.
100%. I am building from a place of doing the work on myself to be in honesty about where I truly am. And then from that place, everything else follows. Remember, I told you I always tried to take shortcuts. Every time I tried to do a shortcut, it always turned into a long cut.
Yeah. Very good. And who just joined us?
This is my son, Nova.
Hi, Nova.
He just came into the podcast studio, right?
Very good. Well, and my little Piper's been at my left hand playing ball with me for the last 15 minutes, so I can't bring her on the air. So, okay, friends. Josh, thank you for the lightning round. And now, friends, it's your chance to be a giver too. If today's show with Josh Trent touched your heart, if he lit a spark inside you, please consider sharing a little love with our amazing team at WITV7. They're a 501c3 charity on a mission to educate, empower, and encourage. With your donations and their good work mixed together with tons of love and kindness, everything is possible. And Josh, I love the courage it's taken to transform your pain into such powerful purpose, and I admire how you show up with depth, honesty, and passion to offer your healing as a gift to lift others. And I'm super happy that you've shared your authentic, courageous, and liberating spirit on our show today. Will you take a minute or two and share any parting remarks you'd like to leave with our audience?
Yes, I found it of no order other than God's order that my son just came into the studio right now. It's a reminder of everything that I stand for. It's a reminder of all the work I'm doing into the world. I choose to not have my son suffer in the way I've suffered. I choose to have my daughter not suffer in the way I've suffered. Through this lens of liberated life and the emotional epigenetics understanding and program, and really philosophy of how to be authentically liberated, I choose to not give my children the challenges that I've had. I want them to have their own unique journey. I want all of us to have our own unique journey that is not informed by the pain of my father or by the pain of my mother or by the pain of my ancestors. And I do that from a place of knowing what it feels like to hold that pain in my heart. So the greatest gift I could ever give to any person I ever work with, or to my own family, or to this audience, or to you, is the wisdom and the authenticity around how do we live our life well? How can we live our life? Ever since I was a little boy, Matt, that was my question. Is when I was Nova's age, my son's age, I was like, how do I live my life well? How do I actually do this? And that's where everything was born, from that question.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Josh. And I also want to thank WITV7 for hosting and promoting our show so we can keep interviewing inspiring guest stars like Josh and reaching folks just like you ready to create your own extraordinary lives. And most especially, thank you, viewers and listeners. You'll find links to social media and all things Josh Trent. Find him, friend him, listen to his widely acclaimed podcast, read his articles, and shop his online store for awesome wellness and wisdom merch. You'll find it all in the show notes. From me to you, dear friends, I love you and I want you to be really, truly, deeply happy too. So don't wait. Head over to happyliving.com and click Unlock Here. It could be the first step to discovering the life you were meant to live, one filled with purpose and joy and real significance. And as you begin unlocking, think about what we can do together, you and me, to improve the happy of your world, one person at a time. Till next time, I'm Matt Gersper. You are awesome. And this is the Something Significant Show. And we're out. Will you please take a moment or two and share any parting words that you'd like to leave with our audience?
So the most profound work that I do and that I feel is actually for my son who came in the studio. I do not find it of coincidence. I think it was very determined that God would bring my son into the studio to help answer your question. And everything that I do through this lens of the liberated life and emotional epigenetics and understanding how we can actually shift the trajectory of our epigenome, of our ancestors, this is the greatest gift we could ever give to our children and our children's children and to all people around us, is to learn how to do the work, both in mind, body, soul, and financial and relationships and everything, so that we can actually live who we are, to live our authentic self. That's the whole gift that our children most deserve from us. I want my children to go through their own struggles, completely free of daddy's pain, of mommy's pain. I want them to go through whatever God has designed for them without my projections, without my fear, without my stuff. That is the greatest gift, Matt, that I or we could ever give to our children, but it requires courage from our heart, and it requires education to know how to do the work. And that is the greatest gift I think we could ever give.
That's it. Right on. Thank you, Josh. And I also want to thank WITV7 for hosting and promoting our show so we can keep interviewing inspiring guest stars like Josh and reaching folks just like you, ready to create your own extraordinary lives. And most especially, thank you, viewers and listeners. You'll find links to social media and all things Josh Trent. Find him, friend him, listen to his widely acclaimed podcast, read his articles, and shop at his online store for awesome wellness and wisdom merch. You'll find it all in our show notes. And from me to you, dear friends, I love you and I want you to be really, truly, deeply happy too. So don't wait. Head over to happyliving.com right now and click Unlock Here. It could be the first step to discovering the life you were meant to live, the one Josh was talking about, one filled with purpose and joy and real significance. And as you begin unlocking, think about what we can do together, you and me, to improve the happy of your world, one person at a time. Till next time, I'm Matt Gersper. You are awesome, and this is the Something Significant Show. And we're out.